NOAA ship Okeanos Explorer deploys two different ROVs, D2 and Sirius. D2 collects video of the bottom, while Sirius hovers above for wide-angle shots of the seafloor. ROV dives commonly start in flat areas at the base of high-relief features. They proceed upslope because traveling upslope provides a better view of the seafloor. In flat, sedimented areas, deposit feeders, like this sea cucumber, extract organic material from the sediment and excrete the excess. Decorator crabs, like this little guy, use whatever material is around them to camouflage. Many benthic invertebrates require hard substrate to settle. It's not uncommon to find rocky outcrops colonized by deep-sea corals and sponges. Black corals, like this Bathypathes on the left and Storopathes on the right, get their name because their skeletons are composed of black proteinaceous material. While D2 is diving, experts around the world watch and communicate in real time in an online chat room. These experts help decide which samples are worth collecting. D2 has one of the best ROV cameras in the world. The result is unprecedented videos of live animals in their natural habitat, like this cutthroat eel. As D2 moves towards a higher slope area, the soft sediment veneer gives way to more exposed hard substrate and rocky outcrops. Given the general lack of structure in the deep sea, animals down here often use other living organisms as habitat, like this squat lobster living in the branches of a Parantipathes black coral. D2's camera can even provide close-ups of tiny amphipods and sea urchins. About 1 hour into the dive, the substrate continues the transition from soft sediment to large slabs of rock. The rocks are black because iron manganese precipitates out of saturated seawater and encrusts on the sedimentary rocks. Many ecological interactions occur at these depths, but most are poorly understood, like this Neolithodes squat lobster hanging onto a dead bamboo coral. Here we see a Venus flytrap anemone attached to the same dead bamboo coral as the squat lobster from the last frame. This Thuarella sea fan is over half a meter tall. A brittle star has taken up residence, potentially as a means of collecting food or avoiding predation. Even experts are stumped by some animals. This is an example of a black coral they couldn't identify. Some of these animals can be hundreds to thousands of years old. D2 operators are careful to keep the organisms they sample intact and healthy. An hour and a half into the dive, D2 continues to move up a steady slope towards a vertical wall. Here we see a Corallium precious coral attached to some dead stony coral. Though it might be hard to tell, this dumpling squid is no longer than 3 centimeters. The orange animal on the left is a Stichopathes black coral. The smaller, semi-translucent animal in the middle is a dandelion siphonophore. Siphonophores are not one individual, but many specialized individuals working together. Dandelion siphonophores are unique because they attach themselves to the seafloor using their tentacles. This white goniaster sea star is perched on some hard substrate composed of dead scleractinian coral. True soft corals like this Anthomastus highlight one of the key differences between hexacorals and octocorals. Octocorals have 8 tentacles on each polyp with pinnate branching patterns, whereas hexacorals have a varying number of simple unbranched tentacles. Feather stars like this one are crinoids, which are closely related to sea stars. The slope continues to increase as D2 approaches a large scarp. The increased slope contributes to these stair-step terrace formations. Deep-sea anglerfish are known for using lures to catch prey. This species has a chemical lure rather than a visual one, and it's evolved modified fins for walking on the seafloor. The slope continues to steepen, exposing more hard substrate. Areas with high vertical relief are specifically targeted by researchers because vertical relief provides habitat for species that need places to settle or hide. Shallow water stony corals are critical to forming coral reefs because of their hard exoskeletons. Deep-sea stony corals, like this Analepsamia rostrata, have similarly hard exoskeletons but rely on suspension feeding rather than photosynthesis. Notice the brittle star in the branches of this Paramaricia sea fan. These two animals are almost always observed together, and one study found the brittle star stays in the coral's branches even when the coral is dying. Shrimp are some of the most ubiquitous animals in the ocean, occurring as deep as 5,000 meters and from tropical regions to polar regions. The stony coral you see on the right is Selena smilia. Branching stony corals such as these are ecologically important in the deep sea because they're foundational animals, meaning they build habitat for others. These brightly colored zoanthid hexacorals have colonized a dead coral skeleton. The dark rubble on the seafloor is dead stony coral, which indicates at one time there was significant stony coral growth in this area. This cusk eel appears to be using an overhanging rock ledge as habitat. D2 continues to climb a steadily increasing slope and observes even clearer stair-step terraces than those seen earlier in the dive. The group to which this bamboo coral belongs is still being described, highlighting how novel these observations really are. More than 3 hours into the dive, D2 arrives at a significant vertical wall. This wall was previously identified in bathymetric maps derived from multibeam sonar data collected by NOAA ship Okeanos Explorer on a previous expedition. Prior to this moment, this threadfin rockling had never been observed south of Cape Hatteras. Now at the top of the wall, D2 traverses the scarp edge for much of the remaining time. Coral communities up here appear to be more diverse than at the base of the wall. Here we see the only Alternipathes black coral observed on this dive. It's about 20 centimeters wide and 30 centimeters tall. This brittle star appears to be struggling to hold on to this bamboo coral. This Metallogorgia precious coral is always observed with the same species of brittle star, Ophiocreus oedipus. Though the relationship is not fully understood, it's clear these animals are closely associated. Here we see a Bathypathes black coral in the foreground and two likely very old Leiopathes glaberrima black corals in the back. Sponges, like these yellow and white ones, are very poorly described relative to other deep-sea animals, despite having potentially significant biomedical applications. Here we see a sea pen anchored to some exposed rock. However, sea pens are more frequently observed in soft substrate areas. This Hymenaster sea star is moving along some dead Selena smilia stony coral. High densities of deep-sea animals are observed on scarp edges, potentially as a result of increased food availability, limited sediment accumulation, or any number of other factors. These extreme overhangs are the origin of the large rock slabs seen earlier in the dive. Over the course of millennia, the ledges break and send the slabs tumbling to deeper depths. When disturbed, this tube-dwelling anemone pulls back into its tube for protection. Each polyp of this stoloniferan soft coral is connected by tissue at the base that spreads horizontally, called a stolone. Golden crabs are one of the few commercially harvested animals that occur at these depths. Their carapaces can be up to 8 inches wide. Liopathes glaberrima black corals are some of the longest-lived deep-sea animals. They can be more than 4,000 years old. The two thickets of tentacles you see on this bamboo coral are actually basket stars, which are a specific group of brittle stars. As the dive comes to an end, the science team is keen to fill their sample boxes with valuable specimens, like this unidentified sponge. Before ascent, we see one final view of Deep Discoverer from Sirius.